Hi guys, welcome to the second video series of the Elliott wave theory. Today we are going to discuss about motive waves. Now, as you may recollect from the previous video, Elliott classified the market movements into two distinctive phases. One phase was the motive wave phase, and the second was the corrective phase, which eventually corrects the motive waves. Now, motive waves usually subdivide into 5 waves, and each subwave of the motive waves is always denoted by numbers. It's identified by numbers. If you may recollect, we number the motive waves as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the waves which correct the motive waves, that is the corrective waves, those are numbered as labeled as A, B, and C. Motive waves are called motive wave because there's a purpose behind them, and that is to propel the market either upwards or downwards. Okay. Broadly, there are only two types of motive waves. They are either the impulse kind or the diagonal waves. Now let's come to the impulse wave. Impulse wave is the most common motive wave. Okay, and if you remember, yesterday in the last series we saw this wave structure where we have the wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. Now these kind of waves are called impulse waves. These are very easy to identify. Remember the three rules rather, that we studied yesterday. One was that the low of wave 2 cannot go down the low of wave 1. It can come very close to the low of wave 1, but it can never retrace entirely. Okay. The second rule was that wave 3 can never be the shortest wave. Okay. And the third rule was that wave 4 never enters the price territory of wave 1. Okay. There's one more rule with an impulse wave, and that is the wave 3 is always an impulse wave. Okay. And if you may notice, wave 1, wave 3, and wave 5, all these three waves themselves are motive in nature, that is motive waves. Why? Because the primary objective is to propel the market into some direction. So those waves which give direction to the market and follow these rules, they automatically can be labeled as impulse waves. Alright. Now before moving forward, there's a concept called extensions within the impulse waves. Why this concept is important? Because most of the impulse waves that you will encounter will have extensions within them. Extensions are nothing but elongated impulse. It's an elongated impulse with an exaggerated subdivision. Now this point will be more clear in the next slide, where we'll actually take an example of an extension. At this juncture, all you need to know is that within the 5-wave structure, out of which 3 waves, that is 1, 3, and 5, which are impulse waves, there'll be one wave, either 1, 3, or 5, which will have a prolonged extension. Okay. Now why extensions are important is because if you know which wave is the extended one, you can judge the length of the other two waves. Now, for example, let's say we have wave 1, and wave 1 is not an extended wave, it's a normal wave, and we have wave 3, which turns out to be an extended wave. Now, since wave 3 is an extended wave, what we can do is we can take the size of wave 1 and imply that the size of wave 5 will be similar to that of wave 1. Okay. So what extensions usually do, it provides a useful guide to the expected length of upcoming waves. Okay. Now usually in stock markets, wave 3 that you'll recognize is usually the most extended. This is just an observation. In my own experience, I haven't found this to be true, but since it comes in the original literature, we'll have to just trust it the way it goes. Okay, now let us look here. What do we have here? We have a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. Okay, within this, what do we have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So wave 1 is extended type. It has extension. Alright. Now see the length of wave 3 and length of wave 5. Now when we have wave 1, which is an extended wave, based on wave 3, we can roughly estimate the length of wave 5. And it's true in all the cases. Now here we have a normal wave 1, but we have an extended wave 3. Okay? But since we know the length of wave 1, we can estimate the length of wave 5. This is the primary use of extension. Okay. Now in the first figure we see there's a first wave extension here. In the second figure we have a third wave extension. In the third figure we have the fifth wave extension. Sometimes there is no extension in wave 1, wave 3 or wave 5. Rather the whole structure is an extended one. And usually we have a 5 count. But in a case where we cannot identify extensions in wave 1, wave 3 or wave 5, we find the numbering usually to be up to 9. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you see, a 9 wave count and a 5 wave count is not that different at all. Okay? The same thing applies to the bear market scenario as well. In some cases the first wave is extended, in some cases the third wave, in some cases the fifth wave. Now since we've completed the basic introduction of an impulse wave and an extension, there's one more aspect to impulse wave, and that is truncation. Now sometimes what happens is that impulse waves do not develop entirely and they get interrupted in between. That process, or let's say that phase, is termed as a truncation. So if we go by definition, truncation is a phase where the fifth wave does not move beyond the end of third wave. Alright, it'll get more clearer in the next slide when we refer the image. So usually truncation occurs after an extreme strong movement in the preceding wave, that is the wave 3. And what I have found is that usually it's a bit difficult to recognize truncation. So the thing that we have to make sure is that the incomplete wave 5, which usually is the truncated wave, it must have completed the necessary 5 wave divisions. If you find a wave 5 which has completed the necessary 5 wave divisions and which does not move beyond wave 3, that is a truncated wave. Let's just take a look at the image. Now look here. On the left side we have a bull market truncation, on the right side we have a bear market truncation. Now see, what do we have here? Wave 1 has 5 divisions. Alright, we have a wave 2 which corrects as A, B, C. Okay, then we have a wave 3 again of 5 divisions, then again a wave 4 of 3 divisions. Remember, when we move up, motive waves take form of 5 waves, corrective wave of 3 waves. That's what we learned in the previous video series. Now look at the fifth wave here. What happens is we have a valid 5 wave structure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Third wave is not the shortest. Fourth does not enter the price territory of subwave 1. But the fifth wave, after the completion of all the 5 divisions, does not manage to go beyond the third wave. Okay, now this is a bull market truncation. Alright, the exact reverse of this is a bear market truncation. The rules are the same. Okay. So till now what we have done is we have covered what a basic motive wave is. We have known that there are 2 types of motive waves. One is the impulse and another is the diagonal wave. Now since we have completed the impulse part, let's now switch to the diagonal aspect. A diagonal is a motive wave. It's essentially a motive wave, but it's not an impulse wave. What it means is that there are certain rules that impulse wave follows. One of them is that wave 4 almost never enters the price territory of wave 1. Okay, but in a diagonal wave, what happens is that wave 4 almost every time enters the price territory of wave 1. Okay, also the diagonal waves, I mean all the diagonal waves are producing a count of 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3. Now this will sound a bit confusing until and unless you see the image on the next slide. Up till now, what you need to remember is that all the waves within the diagonal wave, all waves are threes. That is, they produce a count of 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3. There are basically two types of diagonals. One is the ending diagonal, and another one is the leading diagonal. Leading diagonal is not that common, hence we won't go into the details of that. But ending diagonals usually is spotted a lot, and we will revisit it during our later slides. Okay, so let's study the ending diagonal first. Now, ending diagonal, as you may see here, we have a 5-wave structure 1, 2, 3, 4. But the fifth one, as you can see, is a complicated structure. That's what is an ending diagonal. What happens in a ending diagonal structure is that it primarily occurs in the fifth wave, hence the name ending. The other type of diagonal wave was the leading. So that usually happens in the first wave. But the ending diagonal happens in the last wave, that is the fifth wave. So what the ending diagonal usually forms, when we have a near vertical rise in the third wave. Look at here. From wave 2 to wave 3, there's a near vertical rise. Similarly, from wave 2 to wave 3 here, there's a near vertical fall. Okay. Typical characteristics of this phase is that volumes usually diminish in this phase, as it is applicable with any sort of a diagonal triangle, contracting triangle, expanding triangle. Usually in those phases volumes do contract, and it's the same with ending diagonals. Most of the time what happens, we get a converging diagonal. Can you see these lines converging? These are converging diagonals, converging ending diagonals, as you may put it. We also get an expanding diagonal type, but that's usually not that common. Now, if you remember in the last slide, we had seen that we had learned that diagonals usually take a form of threes. I mean a count of 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3. What it means is, just look carefully here from wave 4. 1, 2, 3, wave 1 complete. 1, 2, 3, wave 2 complete. 1, 2, 3, wave 3 complete. 1, 2, 3, wave 4 complete. 1, 2, 3, wave 5 complete. So how many threes we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hence the count 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3. Alright, I hope it's clear. Now, leading diagonal is exactly the same. The only difference is that it happens during the first wave. Hence, the word leading comes. Alright. Now, at this juncture, let us just recap as to what we have learned till now. What we have learned is the basic tenets of Elliott wave theory. Yesterday we classified the two phases as motive waves and corrective waves. Today we had a look at motive waves. Motive waves usually subdivide into either impulse or diagonals. In the impulse segment we studied about extensions and truncations. In the diagonal wave segment we studied about ending diagonals and leading diagonals. What we are doing up till now is just building a solid base. Alright. Again, what I'll request all of you to do is that please visit the forums for active discussions on what we are learning right now. And also it'll benefit immensely if you can refer to the Elliott wave principle book. These all concepts, if you read once and go through the videos again, it becomes a lot easier to learn. Okay. In the next series we're going to talk about corrective waves. Okay. See you till then.